Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Midland Earth. On this week's episode of the Fellaship, we are going to be just discussing our favourite blockbusters, seeing as we're about to hit the summer blockbuster season. Today, you've got myself, Lewis, Matt, joined by Dave and JJ.
Hey guys.
Hi guys.
It's hot. It is the summer.
Very, very
it's the
warm.
Summer now.
Yeah. Summer blockbuster season, and no one's running off to the cinema because they all want to be outside in 32-degree baking heat.
It depends. Some of the cinemas they're quite cool.
Yeah, if there's air conditioning, I'd be there all the time.
Go showcase. Oh yes, beautiful. Relaxed, reclined. It on. Oh yes, beautiful.
Put your coat on in there. Is that cold?
Well, we've had some problems with Matt's internet, so it's still winter in Matt's world.
Yeah, he's living in the Ice Age.
It's Stone Age. Ice Age.
Anyway, we digress. So we're about to hit, obviously, what is typically the summer blockbuster season in the cinema. So we're going to look at going over some of our favourite ones, and obviously as well some of the probably more poignant ones that they've had since blockbusters have been a thing. So if we make a start, obviously you want to look at what was the original blockbuster. So beforehand, I think it was that films would only be distributed to selected cinemas, but this particular film, I think, was distributed all across America, or to a large portion of America. And that's what made it be the first blockbuster, and that was obviously Jaws back in 1975. Made everyone afraid to go in the sea and swim for a large portion, and discriminated the shark species.
I'm still scared to go in the sea.
I genuinely am. It created a phobia. I literally don't. I'm scared.
That was the thing. I think it did.
You know the ride at the park. I remember seeing it in the early age of the internet, and just seeing when you go past on the boat, and then the animatronic comes out, and I was like, that is my worst nightmare. I think that was the thing where I hated going in the bath, because I just kept thinking it's going to come out.
The jaw shark is going to come through the plug hole and get you.
Just the animatronic, not even the actual shark.
The bath.
It's horrifying.
That's extreme.
Yeah, in the bath.
I think, like you guys say, is that it caused such an uproar, didn't it? Is that they then had to release public statements to say that no, sharks aren't this dangerous. But even today, 50 years now since Jaws came out.
Really?
1975.
50 years
yeah, 50 years this year.
20, 50 years, yeah.
Yeah, is that it still has that impact of people are genuinely afraid of sharks and they think that they're dangerous. So it was a true record breaker for its day.
Yeah.
I suppose they are dangerous, but, not as dangerous as Jaws made out.
No, but it's just like I said, I think it was definitely classed as being the first blockbuster because of the impact that it made, the money that it made.
I think, isn't it how it was marketed and stuff as well? It was marketed through Mad wanted T-shirts, and they had pre-booked the tickets and everything, and there was merchandise, and it was the first.
That's one of the things that sort of defines a film as being a blockbuster is that it's obviously they tend to have big budgets, quite well-known casts. The marketing before the film comes out is everywhere, and then obviously they then expect to get huge returns in terms of the ticket sales and merchandise and things like that. Obviously, they don't always get that. You do get the flops, but they put all the effort in, especially in the marketing and whatnot, and that's what classifies it as being a blockbuster.
Flops being the rest of the Jaws films.
Yes. So it had one good film.
Straight to VHS.
Well, what came after Jaws? Obviously, there was Jaws. What Jaws?
I think it was Jaws 2.
Isn't Jaws
Revenge, was it?
Revenge.
Then Jaws 3.
Son of Jaws.
Was it Megalodon or Megalosaurus?
The rise of Jaws.
Oh yeah, Megalodon, the one with what's his face in it? Generic British karate man.
Oh, the Meg. Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
That's the one. See, I love how I said that and you knew exactly who I meant.
But then it did bring about a great load of spin-offs like Sharknado.
God.
The only ring that it's got that's related anywhere close to Jaws is it's got sharks, and people love it because it's just a stupid movie that everyone finds hilarious. But Jaws caused that entire genre of shark movies to become a thing.
Well,
I mean, I love Deep Blue Sea, and obviously that would have never been a thing if it was for Jaws.
Yeah, and that certainly wasn't a blockbuster.
That film.
It would never have been a thing if it wasn't for Jaws. Jaws sort of started that genre of. I don't know. Would you say it's?
It's not really a genre, is it?
Well, I suppose it is. It is kind of like a natural horror, where it's kind of, rather than it being like a psychopath going hunting people and murdering them, it's about nature.
A shark hunting them and murdering them.
Yes, but
it's something that you could potentially run across.
Yeah, the same as like Anaconda. Is that it's the same thing. Piranha.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of premise. Is that it's a naturally occurring animal that has mutated to such a way that it's now a genuine threat. So it probably did spawn like this whole subgenre of horror.
Yeah, because there's obviously, let's say you got Jaws, there's the Anaconda films, there was Arachnophobia, you got the big giant spidery films as well.
Don't do that.
Spiders.
And then, like you said, Sharknado and things like that, where it just gets even worse.
Eight-legged
Alien.
Yeah, eight-legged Freestyle's another one.
Yeah, you could probably say that the Birds.
Oh yeah, like
probably kind of like something like one of the first ones for animal horror or natural horror. That kind of Jaws probably took some ideas from, but I still think Jaws is a lot bigger at creating that whole subgenre. And I think majority of what we've got on the list has kind of the successes of them has created specific subgenres.
What's the next one? What have we got next?
The next one would obviously be 2 years later, and it would have been Star Wars, A New Hope. And again, and that was huge, obviously, when it came out, because George Lucas again went really big on the sort of the advertisement and the merchandise before the film. He released it as they got it written out as a novel first, and there was loads of stuff that was drawing people in before it even came out. And then obviously Star Wars hits the screen, and it starts off in a way that had never been done before. You'd never had a film starting with a text crawl and then the Star Destroyer coming over the top, so that blew people away. Then you get the word of mouth, and they're all just flocking to the cinemas to see this film, which has then just spawned. Jaws is the first blockbuster, but I don't know. Star Wars is probably the first big franchise film. I know you had Bond beforehand, but I don't think it was ever as big as what Star Wars became.
I think one of the things that really impressed me with the old Star Wars films is how a lot of the backgrounds were painted, and it's just insane when you see it superimposed, and it's like you just assume it's there, and they got all those extras. But back then they didn't have that budget; they just had some guy just painting on glass. It's crazy when you see it, and it's like that is, there's a bit where Luke's like in the fuselage kind of thing, and he's like crawling around, like going around it, and it's like there's nothing, there's not actually anything there. It's just probably a plank of wood that he's walking across, and it's all painted, and it's insane how good it looks, even to this day.
Well, the one that I think of about the background painting is in Return of the Jedi, where in the opening scene, Vader arrives at the Death Star and his shuttle lands and whatnot, and obviously comes down the ramp, and then it gives you the long shot of him walking away with Moff Jarod, and it's him, Moff Jarod, and he's probably got about 3 stormtroopers either side. But then the painting that they've put over the background is just rows of stormtroopers at the back, and then obviously does it even to an even grander scale when they have the same scene for the Emperor's arrival, even more. And like I say, even now,
it's all painted.
40 years on, it still looks really good.
I think that's why when you look at some of the modern CGI, is that it doesn't look as good because it was done to such an extent, and like you say, the detailing of what they went through, the backgrounds didn't move, but your eye was always drawn to the actual main action, and they put so much effort into the detailing of it all. It just made it so much crisp and realistic. Like you're saying, that like you just said about that scene with Vader, is that you wouldn't know unless you actually looked closely and say, well, none of those stormtroopers actually move.
No. But your brain's telling you when you're seeing that oh well, because obviously that's a regiment of stormtroopers. These are highly trained people in the Imperial military, so they're not going to move, are they? Because they're like you would expect in a real day. Like a military parade, you'd expect the troops that are stood there to not move. They would be still. So your brain's automatically telling you that's what it is, when realistically it's not. It's just because it's all been painted over.
I think as well with
trained,
Star Wars,
but they have awful aim.
Yes.
It's called plot armor. But with Star Wars is that I think because of where we were in the space race, it came out at the right time.
Yeah.
Because obviously you had it's probably a bit too late, realistically, because obviously you've had the big race through from 57 through to 69. And then it kind of dies off. But still, there was this massive passion worldwide about the unknown. And even though the opening credits say a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the technology is futuristic. So it draws you in. So you've now got the whole sci-fi era of it with still it's all in space. And what they did with it all, the grand scale of everything, like in the opening scene, where the Star Destroyer flies over the top of the screen, it is phenomenal, and you just get that feeling.
No one had ever seen anything like that, had they, at the time? It was completely new.
Yeah.
And obviously, the people would have seen things like the original series of Star Trek and some of the earlier Doctor Who's and things like that. But it was completely different because obviously the budget was bigger, but it just blew people away and as well, you've also got to think of the amount of stuff that Lucasfilm and whatnot actually developed to get those particular shots as well. They were inventing the technology as they went along making that film, which has then subsequently made the majority of the other blockbusters on our list possible. Like I say, then you move it on. You've got Empire in 1980, Return of the Jedi 83.
Did they all do better and better, like box office wise, or did they kind of like the first one more successful?
I think Empire Strikes Back was the biggest, wasn't it? Or I think they may have all gone up.
Certainly, in terms of the production budgets, they would have gone up following on from A New Hope, because obviously they have how well it did. So 20th Century Fox were like, "Oh, it's done really well. Let's pile more money in." Just have a look. So A New Hope's budget was estimated at $11 million at the time, and it made gross worldwide $775 million.
Whoa!
So it, properly went for it.
Empire. But back then as well, like you expect these days, they spend like 100, 200 million on a film, and they're lucky if they get it back, and if they earn 700 million, they go, "Oh, it didn't do that well compared to what they've spent." Because you tend to go, let's say it was 200 million for a film, then you, by a rule of thumb, is double the budget,
Yeah.
and that's the budget for ads and everything.
Now,
so everything they've probably not made that much compared to that. That is ridiculous. 11 million. So what did you say? 700 million.
75 million is what it made gross worldwide off a 11 million budget. Empire had an 18 million budget, so it got a 7 million increase. Gross worldwide actually only made 550 million.
Only.
So it made but less compared to the first one, even though realistically it's considered the better film. What about Jedi? Because obviously Matt asked about all three.
I mean, just looking at the stats there, is that it says that the Star Wars franchise is the second highest grossing movie franchise of all time, having earned over 10 billion at the box office. So it just shows what happened from the very first film back in 1977 and how it created and defined its own unique area of fandom.
Yeah.
And like you say, because they were developing the technology and the special effects, is that there was always that draw of it getting better and better in each film. And then we get to episode 6 and we don't talk about anything apart from Rogue One.
But yeah, and again, that increased. So you went from 18 million for Empire budget to make it. It went up to 32.5 million for Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, big jump.
So they really upped the budget for it. And again, gross worldwide, it's a big number, but it's actually less as it's gone on. That made 482 million gross. So, I mean, they are still obviously it's still classed them as blockbusters, but actually, as you've moved along through that original trilogy, the budget to make them has gone up, but the actual revenue that they've brought in has gone steadily down. So, I mean, I'm not suggesting that they're going to consider Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi to be a flop, but they certainly didn't make as much money as what the original one did.
It may just be something on the relation is that because it was so groundbreaking, is that people would drag, sort of like people were dragging their mums, dads, aunties, uncles, neighbours to go and see it. Say, look, it's phenomenal, it's groundbreaking. And all of those secondary people were interested, but weren't. They're like, oh yeah, it's groundbreaking, but they didn't enjoy the story. So that may be one of the things of it. But
yeah. And obviously, from there, George Lucas he was heavily involved in the prequel trilogy because that was his thing. He's then sold it on to Disney for them to make the sequel trilogies. They are still classed as being blockbusters because they will have made a lot of money when they've come out. But
we'll just pretend that Disney is not involved in Star Wars.
Yeah,
we'll let them have Rogue One.
Yes, because that was really good.
Everything else
and that would have been a blockbuster. That would have been.
That's probably the one that, from the new films, I think that's the only one that I actually went to see in the cinema.
Good choice in the end.
Actually, no. I think I went to see. The first one. Yeah, I think I went to see Force Awakens, and then I went, oh no, I won't go and see any others and watch them.
Yeah, I think
totally illegally.
I think I went to see Force Awakens twice. The first time I went into it, I was like, yeah, new Star Wars film. And I went back, and the second time, I'm like,
the same Star Wars film.
Yeah, this is just, it's just a New Hope. It's J.J. Abrams special. Let's have a look at Star Trek. Oh, look, it's Wrath of Khan, but not.
Just minor tweaks on an already produced story.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that's for an entirely different episode.
And obviously that then kind of starts leading us towards, we've done sort of like, we're up to about 1983. That takes us to 1984, which we said was Indiana Jones, was our next kind of big franchise and blockbuster.
I've actually just looked at my notes date-wise. Raiders came out in 81, so it was between A New Hope and just after Empire.
Oh.
Yes, that was in '81. So he released Empire, and then him and Spielberg went on to do Raiders, which obviously was a completely different feel to Star Wars. But again, you'd probably class that would have done really well.
I need to rewatch all the older indie films. So I haven't watched them for a while, but I do love those. They've got a special place in my heart. Like my mum used to love Indiana Jones, so that's one of those things that I grew up watching with my mum. So I need to go back and revisit, because I think I've got that, bad feel from the newer ones. So sometimes you just need to go back and watch the originals and get that spark back.
I've not watched the latest one. What was it, Dial of Destiny?
Don't bother.
I haven't watched that yet because
I've not seen it, because I love the original film, the original trilogy again. And then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, again, when it came out in, what year was that? Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was 2008.
You're going to make us feel old. Oh, God.
No, but you were thinking, because obviously for us, we either weren't born or we were too young to have seen these in the cinema, so we've only ever seen them when they've been on TV or through VHS. So you get to 2008 and you hear this new Indiana Jones film is coming out, and you're thinking, yes, see Indy on the big screen.
That.
And then for a majority of the film, it was actually all right. You can kind of ignore Cate Blanchett's really bad Russian accent. Because you're thinking this is an Indiana Jones film, and obviously, if it was up to me, I would have just not included Shia LaBeouf's character at all. But then to flip it on its head and go, ooh, it's aliens at the end, just ruined it. They could have come up with a different reason as to why it was a crystal skull other than it being an alien. But and again, I think that's what. Would you say it was a flop, Crystal Skull?
What did it make?
I think it made money, didn't it?
It definitely broke even, but
it would have definitely broke even, but
plummeted.
Because some of the reasons I've just mentioned there. It definitely made money. Its budget was 185 million, and it made 786 million. So it's definitely pulled the money in, but it's just not remembered fondly, is it?
Hiding in a fridge to avoid a nuclear bomb blast.
Yes, he does, doesn't he? In the fridge, because the fridge is lead lined and it's safe. But yeah, again, the Indiana Jones films, you'd say they were great. They were blockbusters. You're looking at it, actually, you think about it, between the late 70s and the early 90s, you've got a decent amount of blockbusters coming out in trilogies, because you then also got Back to the Future as a trilogy.
I love that trilogy.
That does really well. That's always looked at very fondly and such. Just saying, JJ, Back to the Future, from the late 70s to the early 90s, you've actually got a decent trilogy of trilogies that ended up all being blockbusters.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Like they actually went for it back then, but nowadays they just go, oh, should we go, like, pretty much everything that we've looked at, apart from probably Jaws, they've tried to go back to and make, bring it back. Oh, nostalgia. Remember Star Wars? Remember Indy? Remember Back to the Future?
Not gone back to the Future yet, though. Not allowed to touch that.
We'll see.
It's on the musical.
They've done the musical. Yeah, the musical is phenomenal, though.
It's really good.
Really well done.
Really good. Honestly, if you've not seen it, go watch it.
No sequels or recalls, though, thankfully.
Well, there's the Telltale game series that they did.
Is there?
Which is actually, it's a really good series, actually. It goes on, it's sort of like set about 5 years later, and they end up in, like, they create a massive amount of paradoxes. It's a really good storyline, to be honest. And they got, oh God, what's his name? Christopher Lloyd. He came back to do Doc, but obviously because of Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's, is that he didn't come back. But the voice actor that does Marty is really, really good as well.
I love those films.
You'd be dead against any form of sequel or remake or anything like that.
Yes.
Well, they've had Rick and Morty, so they've
I know.
kind of
It's like the
gone
spiritual
for it.
successor, isn't it, Rick and Morty?
More swearing and drinking.
That was one of the things. Obviously, the musical has been done by the writer and producer from the film. So when if you go ever watch the musical, it does have it. See, Dave's seen it. I mean, I've seen it. It really is good. I think it pays homage to the original films really, really well. They've tweaked it ever so slightly because obviously you've got to for it being on stage, but it really does well to stick as close to the original film as possible without kicking it in the ribs.
Is there a clock tower?
I mean, the thing with Back to the Future is that there's all the rumors in there about the producer didn't want it to be a success, wanted it to flop so you could actually get money back from the actual flop. So he didn't particularly enjoy the whole thing of it, and then it just became this massive thing and blew out all proportions. He ended up having to pay massive amounts of tax to the IRS because he tried to sink all his money into this project that was going to fail, and it didn't. It completely went the opposite way.
So he's gone out to make a film intending for it not to be a blockbuster, and it's just become exactly that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's a nice little.
I don't know if it's true or if it's just a rumor, but it's quite a prevalent rumor. I do some research on that actually and confirm.
Sorry, Mike, you were going to say.
I was just asking about the clock tower and stuff, and how they do all the
in the musical,
big bits. You know what I mean?
There's ways around it. I'm recommending watching it, so I don't want to ruin it for you. But they are able to incorporate the clock tower and
the car.
And the car is on the stage.
That's cool.
And they can sit in it as well and whatnot. So it's worth a watch. Definitely one for the family.
Family friendly.
Yeah. There's also a bit of a pattern to this as well, because obviously Jaws, Spielberg, Star Wars, Lucas, Indiana Jones, both of them. Obviously, Back to the Future was different. Director and producer and whatnot. Robert Zemeckis. But then the next big one, you sort of move into the 90s, the next big blockbuster franchise, the one that you wanted to mention, Matt, is Jurassic Park, another Spielberg film.
Just to interject, apparently there is no evidence to suggest on that, so it is just a rumour.
It's just a rumour then, okay.
Back to the Future, yeah. So I stand corrected. Quite happy to be corrected on that one.
Yeah. Would have been good though. It would have been like a funny little side story that you could, here today giving the speech to you guys is Robert Zemeckis. Do you want to tell us a bit about your film? Yeah, I didn't want it to be a success, so I could claim some money back. It really didn't work.
Tax write-off.
Yeah. Matt, you I think when we were sort of going through the pre-production for this episode, the first one on your list, you straight away was like, I want to talk about Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I think it's. I think what made it such a big success was because it was like one of the first films that utilised like computer graphics and that, wasn't it? I think that's what kind of sold it to everybody, because people could literally see dinosaurs running around for the first time, kind of thing. And that's what.
It was a mix of animatronic. Yeah, it was a mix of animatronic and also CGI.
Yeah,
wasn't it? But because is why even today is that it just holds up so well.
It holds up so well. Just even watching it now, the only bit that ever kind of throws me out of it is when they first show up to the park and you can see like the brachiosaurs. That's the only bit that I like. Look at it and go, oh, the shadows are kind of off and they look a bit weird. But every other bit of the film, it still holds up. But have you seen? Has anyone seen the behind the scenes of when they were making it? And they had the guy who was. They basically went to someone who was worked on, like I don't know if it was Jason and the Argonauts and stuff like that, and did the like the motion capture stuff, and then they basically they told someone, "Oh, we're making a dinosaur film. Do you want to try and do CGI?" And they went to Steven Spielberg and showed him this little clip, just like a kind of 3-second clip that repeated of this T-Rex walking, and that convinced him. And they went that, and literally these guys all lost their jobs that day to CGI because they were just so impressed with how good it looked. It's stop motion.
Can we just take a short pause because it looks like the video may have frozen for everyone bar Lewis on mine.
Oh.
Just stop recording for a second and have a look what's going on.
I'm still going.
No, I'm. Are you recording it?
I am indeed.
Your laptop's going to fry.
Yeah, fine.
Right, give me 1 sec.
Super fans on mine. Can hear it.
Ah, there we go. I just turned it off and I'm back. Turn it off. JJ, can you just move around for me? Yep, you're moving.
Technical difficulties.
Right, yeah, there we go. Right. I'll start recording again then. Starting again.
This is staying in.
There we go. I'm recording again now, so we got the backup running again.
Yeah, so I know that I'm just having a look and had a budget of 63 million for Jurassic Park, but it made in the box office they made over $1 billion. I think in the 90s to make $1 billion, that is. I feel like
this
lot.
Has this been altered for inflation though? These like box offices, or is these like
possibly?
Because Titanic was the first movie to break $1 billion gross, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it must be.
These figures on IMDb will be obviously adjusted for inflation, but even then, you look at the amount of money that's made back in '93. And like I say, it's people going to the cinema to see dinosaurs on the big screen. Other than, let's say, that Jason and the Argonauts, the stop motion movement, and Godzilla films. I can't think of a film where before Jurassic Park where the focus was the dinosaurs. I think that would have been the appeal, because obviously you were getting quite a lot of discoveries as well around paleontology and such around the time.
Well, I remember they had the it wasn't the first one, was it number 2 where they had the crazy 3D printed raptor thing?
No, it was the first one.
Oh yeah.
Was that the first one?
No,
that was
the voice box, the third one.
Yeah.
Blue one.
Yeah. Oh, that was number 3. Yeah. Yeah, that film. Yeah. That's one of my comfort films. Is Jurassic Park.
I still remember.
As weird as it is, having like what is a horror film, which I think is why the fail is because they try and make it action. It's like I don't want a dinosaur to be the hero or the villain or whatever.
How dare you? Rexy is the hero in all the films she's in.
Yeah, Rexy is always the hero. But I like saying it's for a comfort film. I still remember the very first time that I saw Jurassic Park, and the music is perfect for it as well. Just the whole theme.
Williams.
Yeah, Star Wars, John Williams. Like
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah,
but it is. It's that the raw emotion, and that every kid goes through the dinosaur phase, and like they made it as realistic as possible. You actually genuinely believe that the dinosaurs were real, and that this was an island that they found.
I'm still in my dinosaur phase.
Well, yeah, but I think that's because of the brilliance of the fact that they used animatronics for all the close-ups, and then obviously they depended on CGI for the wide shots and for where all the Gallimimus are running and through the fields, all that's CGI. But then when you get into the kitchen with the Velociraptors or the T-Rex breaking through the roof of the car, it's all the animatronics, so it looks so real.
That's what with Jurassic World, like the first one, I was so excited when they said, I saw it and said, "Oh my god, they're bringing Jurassic Park back!" So excited. I went to see it, and it was all CGI, and it just looked so weightless and so just, it just you could tell there's something different between having something physically there and CGI. Like, I know there's something jumping forward a bit. The new Superman film got obviously the dog in there, and apparently there's a thing with one of the actresses, and she said she felt awful because she's trying to act with this CGI dog, and she's trying to stroke it and just putting her hand through it, and James Gunn's going, "No, just put your hand through the dog." So why not just get a real dog?
Have a dog,
put a real dog in. Yeah, just have a dog there.
I see what you mean, because obviously Jurassic World would have had a far superior budget to the original Jurassic Park, so they could have again gone with animatronics for close-ups and things like that for the actors to have on set to react to be but they've just depended so much on CGI that it does. I like Jurassic World, but it does have an effect, like you say.
Just make sure you run everywhere in high heels.
Yes.
You can outrun the T-Rex in high heels.
Yeah, they give the extra height, so you get the extra speed. It's the angles.
I think she probably had springs in those high heels.
I think
the only way to explain how she can outrun a T-Rex.
Well, a T-Rex wouldn't have been able to run that fast anyway.
Once it gets going, they'd have got up to some speed.
I think top speed of the current estimates of a top speed of a T-Rex is about 20 miles an hour, so
which is faster than anyone can run in high heels. All right, if Usain Bolt could do sort of 100-meter sprint in 20 seconds in high heels, yes, anyone else? No.
She's got springs in her. Remember, ding, ding, ding. But yeah. Anyway, we've digressed a bit.
As usual.
So where we got that Jurassic Park is 93.
Yeah, which actually wasn't on that list, but
we've got Jurassic World. And then in 96 takes us to Mission Impossible,
where the madness, where the crazy stunts begin. When you look at that first film as well, you think how tame that first thing that he ever did was compared to the things he's done since that. It just balanced really well. That was it, really.
I'm going to say something now that may potentially upset you, Matt.
You don't like any Mission Impossibles?
It's not that I don't like them. It's not that I've not particularly seen any of them.
Okay.
Because I'm not a massive fan of Tom Cruise.
I like his.
I definitely don't like. I don't like him as Reacher.
I like his work ethic.
So, what he does and whatnot. I don't know. There's just something about him.
Creepy. Have you seen the Matt? Have you ever seen the clip of when he was getting married to Katie Holmes and he starts jumping up and down on the sofa like a kid?
Oh yeah. Seen that, yeah.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that.
Have you seen the thing? Did you see the video of him getting squirted in the face with that microphone thing? Someone had like a prop,
and he's like
a water pistol on it.
Grabs it. What are you doing? And he's like, "Why would you do that? Why? Why would you do that?"
He just seems a bit. So I've seen the first Mission Impossible, but outside of that, probably only ever seen clips of the other ones. I will probably end up watching them all now, as the last one's not long from coming out. But
the last one.
Well, yeah.
Last one's out.
Mission Impossible, the final absolute ending mission, part 1.
Yep. Part 1 of 7. Still the last mission. Just continues on 10 seconds after the previous one.
The final Zimmer frame, part 2.
Mission Almost Impossible. Which is what every film is. Yeah.
Do you think? Because obviously 96 is when the first one came out. Do you have do you have an idea as to when that came out in the time frame of that year? Was it midway through, or was it towards the back end?
Why?
I'm just wondering if because
if it's a summer box office or
if it's because the only other thing in that time period to compare Mission Impossible with is GoldenEye, which was the year before.
Yeah, it's definitely It's definitely America's James Bond, isn't it? That's what they're trying to do.
Is their way of trying to compete against 007 at the time?
Yeah.
Because obviously, GoldenEye was November 95.
Was GoldenEye the biggest seller up until the Daniel Craig era? Or was it Tomorrow Never Dies beat GoldenEye? But I definitely know that GoldenEye was one of the ones that kind of like massively broke out further, didn't it?
Let's have a look. Because what I'm trying to suggest, obviously, because that's I knew GoldenEye was around a similar time, so I've just had a quick look at it. I was just wondering if, like you say, is that the Americans' attempt to go up against it? I know, obviously, Americans would have been involved in making GoldenEye anyway, but is that their way of trying to properly go up against the James Bond franchise with Mission Impossible? Was that your take on it, Matt?
I think so, yeah. I mean, obviously, James Bond was like books and stuff, and Mission Impossible was a TV show, but.
Well, no, up to this point, GoldenEye wasn't based on a book, I don't think. Most of the Bond books had been already made into films by that point. I think these were the Pierce Brosnan films were more original script type things at this point.
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
So, because I know, obviously, back when I was growing up on my pick between Mission Impossible and James Bond, I would always pick James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I would have always gone for.
Yeah, I was definitely more a James Bond fan than a Mission Impossible.
Probably still am. I mean, like I say, I've only ever seen the first Mission Impossible in clips of the other one, but that's because I'm not a massive Tom Cruise fan. But I might go back and rewatch them now. Maybe my opinions will change, but
apparently,
still more of a Bond person.
He's getting like a honorary Oscar or something for his stunts and stuff.
Well, how'd they do at the BAFTAs? Lifetime Achievement Award type thing?
I think so, yeah. Just mainly based on stunts, I think. Because they're putting a stunt category into the Oscars now.
Yeah, they're actually getting, and rightly so. They're artists that do not get appreciated by the Academy, and they do a big bulk of the work.
Mm-hmm.
Stunt performers.
Risk their lives.
Yeah. But then again, you look at it now, and I'm going to drop in one of JJ's favourites at the moment. Obviously, Florence Pugh and her fantastic hair. She did that whole jumping off the tower thing in Thunderbolts, didn't she? So some of the big stars in these films are quite happy to do their own stunts, which is something that is to be commended as well.
Mm.
Which wouldn't have happened if he hadn't done it first.
True. Supposedly, then that's
him and Jackie Chan.
Yeah. They sort of led the way in that sense, haven't they?
It's a weird one because originally, like you go back to the older films, like the Buster Keaton era. Buster Keaton did his own stunts, and there were several of those where you kind of think to yourself, "You are an absolute maniac." And then we kind of moved away from it because you don't want to kill your star.
Mm.
And now we're slowly kind of moving back into it, saying, "Yeah, it looks more realistic if the stunt double is actually not, they are doing their own stunt." Because you can actually get close-ups of them rather than it being shot from behind or shot from above, so you can't see the face.
I mean, that's what I mean.
Let's just say they won't be able to replicate Florence Pugh's hair, so they had to get her to do
it. I still maintain I want to do a video with you, JJ, where we go through varying people's hairs in films, and we can rank them for you if you want.
Oh yes, please.
Because I'd be interested to see where you put Florence Pugh's hair.
We'd have to do Jamie Foxx because he's had the most hairlines out of anyone in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah, if you look, he's got some crazy ass hairline.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's kind of like GTA where you just go in the barbers.
And change your haircut.
Like up here, down here, like off a bit. Like he's got some crazy ones.
We'll do it. That's another video. That is in the bag.
That's an entire 4-hour special of just looking at the hairline.
Yeah. And as we progress through it, me and JJ get slightly more and more jealous and depressed by it. Because obviously mine's going back.
Mine's gone.
Yours is gone. Mine's going back. Let's bring Sean in because his is thinning, even though he denies it.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Do you want to? If I do that, a sec, do you want to borrow some of mine?
Yeah. I thought you were going to do like a L'Oreal advert there because you're
I
worth
can do
it.
if you want. Hang on. If I just take the ponytail out, then there we go. There you go.
Majestic.
Fuck you.
We've transgressed again. We've gone elsewhere.
We have 97. 2 big blockbusters.
Yes. And one of them I actually hadn't thought about.
Which one?
Men in Black. I wouldn't have thought of that. Titanic was the one I would have definitely gone for in terms of you're looking at a big blockbuster around there. Titanic is the one that springs to mind.
It's still one of the most successful films of all time, isn't it? I think Titanic, isn't it?
Yeah.
First movie to break $1 billion in box office, wasn't it?
Well, one is near, one is far, wherever you are, and then one is Men in Black.
Yeah.
It's the men in.
I think with Men in Black is that the reason you don't think about it is because Titanic dominated everything.
Yeah,
didn't it? It just like it whitewashed everything. The Oscars, the BAFTAs, everything. It just won outright on. And to give it credit, it was an absolute phenomenal film. James Cameron's attention to detail. And it's interesting we haven't actually included Avatar on our list because obviously that was another James Cameron film. But his attention to detail in the filming is that he's I think now, because of what happened with the Titan submarine, he is currently the living person that's done the most dives to the Titanic. Because of the amount of time
he'd done some around the time as well, hadn't he? He'd gone down even back in the 90s to the wreck and whatnot. And
just build a story of it and research. And the amount of, he went into such intricacies on the detail. The set design, they built the entire ship.
Yeah.
Well, apart from that, the lower decks, etc. But majority of the superstructure was built so that they could film directly on the model. And then when they were doing the sinking, etc., and all that, is that the sinking was done via sort of like a 1/16th scale model and all that. But the majority of the acting wasn't green screened. It was filmed on location. They built a location for it and then sank it.
I think as well, the story that they go with, I know obviously it's a historical, based on a historical event, and you've got a little love story going in the back, as you sort of carry through the film. But I think the two of them tie together really well as well. You're not sort of put off by the fact that you've got the love story between Rose and Jack. You're quite happily to watch that go along as you progress through what was a horrific tragedy.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
It wasn't the first Titanic film. There's a Titanic film that's released a long time ago.
Previous, yeah.
Yeah. 1960s, I think it came out in.
Do you think it's the fact that it has got that? Do you think it's the fact that it has got that love story element to it is one of the things that has made it as successful as it was as well? Because
I don't know on that one. I'd probably say yes. And it is kind of like one of the first kind of major blockbuster love stories, wasn't it? If you take it, the whole premise of the ship itself is everyone knows that the voyage is doomed from the start, unless you lived under a rock before it came out. But so everyone knows what's roughly going to happen to the ending of it. But it's the build-up and it's also it deals with the intricacies of class. So obviously it's 1912, and you've got first class and third class, and the third class, the peasants, you never associate with the peasant. But then it shows you the two sides of life. Is that Rose is miserable in her life as a first class passenger, and the third class passengers are loving their lives. Whether that's actually what happened, but
you would like to think that would have probably what would have happened. They would have been having like you've got that scene where they're drinking and then they're having the dancing and they've got the little band playing and whatnot. you'd like to think that's the sort of thing that probably would have happened in the lower decks. And then you go as you move up the classes, you get to all the namby-pamby servers with the white gloves on and whatnot for the upper classes, and we'll retreat to the billiard room for cigars and whiskey and whatnot.
I think it's also how they build the suspense of the film as well. Is obviously that when they first see the iceberg, there's that sense of panic and urgency, and then when it hits, you just kind of think, it'll be all right, because even if you know the story, is that there's still that hope that it's not going to happen. And I think that also adds to it, is because of that, I said, that attention to detail from Cameron. You really got the feeling and the hope built into it so well. And then also how the tragedy reflects is when they're in the ice afterwards, the number of voices slowly get quieter. That is a historical fact, because as people were freezing to death, they'd go quiet. And the people in the ice field, the survivors that were picked up, it did get eerily quiet, where it just got fewer and fewer people still alive. And that whole thing, it just captures everything and what the emotions that they must have gone through.
This is probably one of the ones, I know how Matt was saying about Back to the Future, but I think this is a film that probably shouldn't be redone.
No, I can't imagine they touch it.
It's one of those ones, again, that holds up really, really well and probably should just be left alone.
Well, we'd need to find someone that's 24 that Leonardo DiCaprio can act with.
Well, yes.
Anything past that age and you're done.
Well, I think the only thing they could redo is the door scene.
Have Jack get on the door.
Yeah.
I mean, Mythbusters already busted it. So
and Cameron has now admitted to it, is that yes, Jack could have got on the door as well.
Yeah.
Of course it could, but because this comes back to the whole thing of like between first class and bottom class, is she just didn't want to share. She's just having like, I'm not sharing my champagne.
It's also the fact that she's telling this story to her granddaughter, that she's more in love with the guy that she had like a 3-day fling with on the Titanic than she did with her grandfather, with this girl's grandfather, and had a family with.
Of course, there was 2 endings to it as well, wasn't there? There was the alternative ending.
What?
Yeah,
Jack got on the door and he kicked her off.
Yeah.
Kicked her off the side.
I'm sure there's an alternative ending, because obviously at the end of the actual release, she throws the blue diamond into the sea, and that's sort of it. But I think in the alternative ending, I think she goes with it.
Oh,
yeah, I think doesn't she go over the side?
She goes over the side to sort of say, I'm at the end of my life, I'm back to where I want to be. And then you get the whole, it fades back to her being young, and she's walking up the staircase, and there's Leonardo DiCaprio all suited and booted, and they all live happily ever after in heaven. Ice cold water heaven.
I haven't actually seen that.
Yeah, it's on like the DVD. It's an alternative ending, but I don't think it tested well in like the pre-screen. So they've obviously went to the one that is now in the proper release.
Bit dark.
So,
but who doesn't like a dark ending? Men in Black.
Yeah, Men in Black. Let's go to the happier one of 97.
Well, this has got a special place in my heart, because I think I was 7 at the time. It came out. I remember going to see it with my auntie at the time, and I had the CD that had it on.
Yeah.
And so anyone's watching is going, "Fuck is a CD?" And I remember seeing it on MTV, the music video for, and I literally learnt the dance. So I'd go and put the CD on as a 7-year-old and go and dance and do the dance to everyone, and like my mum would go, "Oh yeah, come on, look, let me put the song on. Look, he's going to do this dance." And I'd just do the whole dance for everyone, thinking I was like the coolest guy ever because I thought I was Will Smith.
Do you still know the dance?
No, unfortunately not. But when I think I put the video on a couple of years ago, I could feel my body like, I can feel it. It's
The
coming back
muscle
to me.
memory just kicks in. No, like you say, is that Men in Black? It did have that place in its heart, and I do think because it was overshadowed by Titanic, it doesn't get the appreciation it should do. But it was an absolute phenomenal movie, and it brought that interest back in space and science fiction.
Yes, because Phantom Menace hadn't come out at this point. That was still 2 years away.
Mm-hmm.
You were getting Star Wars was being re-released as special editions in the cinema. But I don't know if Men in Black was out before that, but there was certainly probably a bit of a lack of sci-fi in terms of the space movies at the time. Like Starship Troopers certainly wasn't a blockbuster, but it is a film that I do enjoy.
I love Starship Troopers.
You got some of the Star Trek ones around the late
Star
90s
Trek,
as well.
yeah.
But again,
Galaxy
Star Trek
Quest.
has never been as big a hit.
No.
I mean, even if they made the kind of like, even though it's supposed to be like alien horror to it, well, Alien and Predator around that time as well, but it's more of a comedy, isn't it? It's the comedy aspect of it and the timings and the delivery. And
family friendly, isn't it, I think?
Yeah. And also is that Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith are a very odd pairing, but they work phenomenally well together.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones has just got that dryness about him, and Will Smith's got the kind of like the facial expressions and the
overacting.
The overacting, which kids were like, yeah, I want to be Will Smith. Whereas like the adults are like, actually, you know what? If this was my job, I would be Tommy Lee Jones. Because
Tommy Lee Jones.
I've seen all this,
Putting him down wherever you possibly can.
Yeah.
Well, I love the bit where the alien comes and takes over his body, and he's just so like it's obvious that he's not the same guy, and he's just like pulling his skin and everything. It's just
what's it, innit? It's Vincent D'Onofrio, isn't it? In that film.
Yeah.
Forget it's him, yeah.
And then it is this. Wait, is it this one? I'm sure it is. Yeah, where they've got the they go to the Italian restaurant, and then it's got his face comes up, and it's got the tiny little alien inside, just like.
Isn't Robin Williams' voice randomly in that film as well? Does it come out of a different person? Yeah, Robin Williams' voice is in it. It comes out of somebody else's like body. It's weird.
Is it the dog? No, he's not the dog.
Have a look at the cast.
Yeah, it's weird.
Just have a look at the cast, and I can't see Robin Williams on the cast.
Maybe he's not even credited, but I'm sure it was him.
Even say the very bottom.
Robin Williams was not in the cast of Men in Black.
Is he not?
When they had Frank the Pug, like he is so good.
It's only like
he does appear in Men in Black 3. He has an uncredited cameo as an alien on the television monitor.
That might be what you're thinking of, Matt.
No, it's not.
But is it number? It's not number 1, is it? Where they have, I think it's number 2, where they have the aliens on the screen and they go through them, and it's got celebrities, and then Michael Jackson comes up.
They've got it on the first one as well. I'm just actually looking. I've gone down to the very bottom of it, and you've got like a load of alien on TV monitor of famous people that are uncredited. George Lucas was one of them. Steven Spielberg was one of them. But yeah, I remember Michael Jackson being as one of them. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it and seeing Michael Jackson. That makes sense.
Yeah. Isn't that the exact comment from Will Smith as well? Is it's just sort of like there's that knowing of he's definitely an alien. We all know it.
Oh, no, he didn't die. He just went back to space.
No, he's currently hiding with Elvis and JFK in sort of like under Gracie Land.
That's why Elon Musk wants to go there.
Yeah.
One of the other ones from the 90s that this one's classed as a flop, actually. So you just jump ahead a year from Men in Black, and you've got the 1998 version of Godzilla.
It's Godzilla.
Matthew Broderick.
I actually love that film.
I enjoy that film. I really like that as a kid.
Not watched that for years.
But in terms of it being a blockbuster, It was certainly intended to be because it had a £130 million budget, and they really went hard on the marketing because you had all they had they got in some of the big music talent to do songs for it and whatnot and all that, and then it only ended up making 379 million. So in blockbuster terms, that's probably classed as a flop.
I remember loving.
I remember
that
enjoying it. Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah.
ones that my granddad took me to the cinema to see that.
I actually, they made an animated series afterwards.
I was just thinking.
They had the eggs. Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed
they had the eggs. They had one of them survive, and that's what the Godzilla is in the animated series. And I actually watched every episode of that whenever it was on. I watched it and loved it because I loved all of that kind of stuff in the 90s. Like I remember going back to Star Wars a little bit. I remember having. Did anyone else get the little bus? They were like little bus of Jar Jar and all like Darth Maul.
The little golden ones that you got in cereal.
Yeah. And then you open the bottom and it had like a little scroll in it and it kind of had like information about him. Like I collected all of those. Eating as much cereal as possible just to get. Please, Mum, can we have another one?
We like the rest of us that got like 7,000 Jar Jar Binks and like no Yodas.
Yeah,
I never got Yoda. I think I got Darth Maul, Yoda. No, not Yoda. Jar Jar Binks again. Some other character that I didn't even know it was. It's probably one of the random Senate members or something. But I remember I had them and I had them all on the shelf.
Again, that's going back to say the marketing side of it and the way that they looked to publicise the film before it's released. That's something that George Lucas would have been sort of heavily involved. Well, probably not heavily involved in, but he would have had his team get massively into that. Get on the phone to Kellogg's and do these little things, these little busts that you get out your cereal boxes, and that just generates the hype to going, oh, I'm getting this. Mum, Dad, I've got to go see Phantom Menace when it comes out in the cinema.
Well, I think it was George Lucas that didn't he have like merchandising rights or something for like, and the very, very first one, it said like, oh yeah, whatever's made, like I'll have so much of the merchandising.
Fox didn't have any faith in it, so they obviously allowed him to have the merchandising rights, and that's why he then went and did toys and books and all that stuff, and it's just blown up completely.
That's why he doesn't have to do anything anymore, and is still a billionaire.
Multi-billionaire.
One that I just realised that we've missed on our list. I don't know if it's actually a blockbuster. Is The Matrix? It was 1999 when The Matrix came out.
99, yeah.
I don't know if
I don't know if it was blockbuster level, but it was certainly it caused a shift in mindset. I think is that kind of like a lot of people suddenly like that how they did all the camera filming and all of that, etc. They broke the mold on sort of like what was classed as standardization for cinema, and although it's not sold as well, I think
they like created
majority of that
bullet time and stuff, didn't they? So that was like a brand new thing.
The hype did the rig that had the whole thing going around.
Yeah. The hype and kind of like the change of mindset in films that came from The Matrix is that there was loads of people at the time that were actually kind of like, is it real?
Yeah, even now people will be convinced I'm living in the Matrix.
Oh yeah, well I think you said that, didn't you, Matt? You said before that made you question your reality.
It's like a paradox, isn't it? You can't prove that you're not in it, and you can't prove that you are. So,
I've seen some weird shit, and we're definitely in the Matrix.
There is no spoon. So. I do love that film.
Red pill, blue pill, go.
It's a blockbuster to me.
I think it would have been.
Which one's which? Because I might stay for the steak. If the Matrix, if the Matrix said, if you take this pill, you'll be a billionaire and you can do whatever you want, or you can go and eat slop and gruel with a guy going, "You're in the real world, Matrix. It's not the Matrix. You're in the real world, Neo." I'd choose the billion.
When you go back into the Matrix, you can fly.
Nah, I'll take the billion. I can be Iron Man.
I'm JJ Man.
I'm JJ Man.
I mean, on the money side of it, 63 million budget and it made 467.
That's £400 million, growth.
So certainly on the money aspect, yeah, you probably would say it was a blockbuster. And I say, going back to, I think we mentioned it not earlier in the video, the second one, Matrix Reloaded, I think was probably classed as being a bit more of a flop because I don't think it did as well.
Mm.
And then the third one probably didn't do as well at all.
Well, as we said earlier, there's only 2 Matrix films.
Well, yeah.
Oh, and the Animatrix.
Yes.
I like the game. The game was cool.
The game is amazing. But then again, the game you follow Ghost and Niobe. So it links so nicely into Revelations, and you find out about how they got to certain places to help with Neo and Morpheus and Trinity doing what they needed to do.
Nice tie-in, wasn't it?
Path of Neo was also a good game because you got to just run around as Neo and do bullet time and beat up like thousands of Agent Smiths. That was a fun game.
I didn't play that one. Yeah. And then obviously we sort of touched on Phantom Menace. That would have been a big blockbuster because that's introducing a whole new generation to Star Wars at that point. I saw it on opening day, Holyhead, really randomly. I was on holiday in Wales, and I was just like, Star Wars is coming out today. Should we go to the cinema? And there was me, my mate, and his dad. That was it. The rest of the cinema was empty. I don't think anyone realised in Holyhead it was out. It was completely empty. And it's one of those old style cinemas where normally, I don't think they did it for Phantom Menace, but normally they would have the little interval in the middle, and then
the ice cream.
Still come down. So the person still came down with the little ice cream trolley because there was only the 3 of us in there. They just kept playing the film, and it was like, "You want some ice cream?" And, but yeah, obviously, Phantom Menace would have been a huge box office hit because
that was 99 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, 99. So you'd have everyone's parents who saw it when they were kids would have been like, "Oh, we're going to go to the cinema," and they're going to take their kids, and it just started all over again. And brought Jar Jar.
Good old Darth Jar Jar.
I still remember the poster there, the poster of Anakin with the shadow behind him. That was cool.
Well, that was one of the good things as well, I think, because there was multiple different sort of posters, wasn't there, for Phantom Menace? Most movies sort of tended to stick to 1 or 2 maybe posters, but I think you're getting up to this point where you sort of turn of the century now, and movies are starting to do. My marketing became much more prevalent. I think they were realizing what they were getting to. You had several different posters for Phantom Menace. It was like the nice fancy sort of artwork drawing one that everyone sort of recognizes. It has sort of Darth Maul's eyes just sort of in the background and everybody else. And then there was that one that Matt's mentioned, Anakin, and his shadow is obviously Vader's outline.
I can't believe all of those were actually painted. Like the guy who did all of those got dementia now.
Yeah,
I saw a thing
come out recently, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I thought they were photoshopped. I didn't think
he's
they were
done so many as well, hasn't he? He's done so many movie posters that everyone recognises.
Because
I can't
of
remember his name now.
His style. Well, I don't think he can either, but
that's a bit harsh.
So, guys, bring the thing down.
Yeah, but no, yeah, he. What would you say that's probably one of the things that helps to make a film a success? Then was that there was sort of, because, like you say, he did so many, and they're all ones that you can sort of instantly recognise, and you say it, and
as soon as you see it, you know
his picture is the one that pops in your mind.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the things that's definitely going to have helped. Then
is it Drew Struzan, isn't it?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
That sounds like it might be, yeah.
Insert movie picture here of one of his posters.
Go on, Matt, get on it.
Maybe.
Okay, I'll Google it.
Yeah.
Drew Struzan.
But it's certainly, I think, you say it's his artwork. It would have all been sort of hand drawn and painted, wouldn't it? And it's certainly one of the things that everyone sort of remembers. One of his posters. And he's done so many. And then we move into the turn of the century.
2000s.
Shifting genres now, aren't we? To more fantasy.
Yeah, well, the two big ones that start off at the sort of start of the 2000s. Obviously, you've got the start of the Harry Potter franchise.
Oh, well, we're restarting it now, apparently.
Well, yeah.
When was the first one then? So early 2000s, was it?
Yeah,
it would have been
2001.
2001.
Yeah, Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings were fighting at the Oscars, weren't they?
Yeah, there was first Harry Potter and first Lord of the Rings were the same year, 2001.
That's crazy. I can't believe Harry Potter's that old.
Yeah,
I remember that. There's Hermione and Aragorn fighting on stage.
Fight to the
that'd be a fight you'd want to win. My money would still be on Aragorn, even with Hermione being a fairly decent spellcaster.
She just do the,
Yeah, but
do the time turner. Just do the time turner till she won.
Yeah, but it takes a while to use.
She didn't have it back then.
It just won't run up to her and just slash her.
But yeah, those are obviously for 2001. Those are your two big blockbusters. I think they were must have been a few months apart. I
think with them both is that again it's going to that level of detail because obviously Peter Jackson put his heart and soul into the Lord of the Rings saga.
Oh yeah,
and yes, they couldn't.
How many years before the film even got released? They were working on it for like 5 or 6 years before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they started filming in '97 or something like that.
Yeah. They were very close together. So Harry Potter came out in November of 2001, and Lord of the Rings was December. So they were literally a month apart. So they were properly going at it, head to head in the box office. And like I say, then the Oscars rolled around a few months later, and Lord of the Rings just took it by storm. All three of them, especially Return of the King, and Harry Potter just couldn't cope in that sense.
Which is very interesting as to the dynamics in them, though. Is that obviously Harry Potter was massive in the 90s because of the books. I remember sort of like queuing up in Tesco and all that when each book came out to buy the copy on the night of the release, and everyone was reading it. And Lord of the Rings is that I've read the books, but it was never as popular. But then just the movies, and as I said, Peter Jackson's attention to detail. Yeah, it was.
I actually remember. So I think my dad took me to see Harry Potter, which was obviously November time, and I'd obviously read certainly the first 3 at that point. Was book 4 may have been out at that point, maybe.
I can't remember exactly on release.
And then my granddad was saying in the December, there's another film coming out called Lord of the Rings. This is based on a book. I think we should go see this. I think you'll like it. And obviously, I'd already seen Harry Potter and I'd read the books and I was going, that's never going to be as good as a stupid 11-year-old would be saying. But I'd never read Lord of the Rings at that point, so the films was my entry point to the Tolkien world. And having seen the first one, I was like, the following day I went to my grandma and went, yeah, you're right. Just blew Harry Potter out of the water in my expectations because it was just... I still enjoyed Harry Potter, but it was... Lord of the Rings was just something completely different. I think
they got the casting right as well. It is that every single one of the cast you get a relationship with, and every person in that film gets development, and you feel for them all the way through. That's why JJ's gone grey.
No.
Oh no!
JJ gone grey.
JJ's internet has died.
He was big enough his internet earlier. My internet doesn't have issues like that.
He'll be back.
We'll see if he'll be back.
Like Arnold, he'll be back. And they never saw him again. Only joking.
Yeah, so some of my favourite blockbusters. What? What's going on? No. Sorry about that, guys. So my street had a blackout. So I believed it was my internet that went out, but no. So I was in the middle of speaking, and all of a sudden, boom. So unfortunately, I didn't get to share the 2000s onwards of my favourite blockbusters, but I hope you enjoyed the video anyway.
Yeah, so we've got to the early noughties. We obviously mentioned Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, how they were very much going head to head with each other, sort of the back end of 2001. And for the next few years as well, actually, when you think about it, what was it, 2001 through to 2003 with Lord of the Rings?
Was it?
Consecutive years, weren't they? Yeah, because obviously they filmed most of it all back to back. So I think it was then like December 2001, 2002, then 2003. They were all being released. So they were then going up against the Harry Potter films and Attack of the Clones as well in the middle of that. And Lord of the Rings just seemed to trounce them all.
Yeah, like you say, it was 2001, 2002, 2003. It was back to back for each.
Yeah.
And obviously The Hobbit was 2014. Oh no, sorry, 2012.
And they, like I they dominated. Lord of the Rings certainly dominated in terms of being the big blockbusters of those early first few years of the noughties. I can't really think of anything outside of Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars for those first 5 years when you go through from 2000 through to 2005. I can't think of anything else that really stands out. Spiderman.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man trilogy, the Raimi trilogy.
The first Spiderman was 2000, was it?
That first one was.
I love that first Spider-Man. Like proper like. I think that was the first time as a kid that I like.
2002.
Because obviously you had Batman. Like I think that was the first time that you felt like superheroes. I don't know. Could be done in movies.
You
know what I mean?
You had the Blade films.
I think.
The first Blade was before Spider-Man, wasn't
it? There is one. Well, there's a couple actually. Thinking about it, Gladiator.
Oh
yes. Oh, forgot about Gladiator. Yeah.
And then American Psycho was also 2000.
I don't know if that would have been a blockbuster though, would it? That was a bit of a
good point. Gladiator definitely hit blockbuster status.
Gladiator certainly would have done, because that was an epic.
28 Days Later, that was 2002.
Yeah, I think that was more like an indie-ish film. Do you reckon? I think.
When was Poltergeist?
The first one.
When did that come out? Yeah, because that was shot on a budget of what, 2 million and made how much?
Poltergeist was 82. Unless there was a remake in the early noughties.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Poltergeist was 82, but that's
10.7 million budget, 121.7 million box office.
So yeah, I suppose in terms of the points of it being a blockbuster, that would have been a blockbuster film as well. But no, going back to the Spider-Man, that was, I know you had the X-Men films were sort of out and around the same time, and there were the Blade films. But that was
we're starting to hit the superhero kind of movie era, aren't we? Obviously you had the Batman films,
Tim Burton ones in the early 90s.
89, 91, wasn't it, for the two Tim Burtons? They kind of they started the era back up. But like you say, is that the early 2000s was when we were starting to see Spider-Man coming out, X-Men, Fantastic Four was around that time period as well, wasn't it?
They were the three big names that Marvel had sold off. You had the Incredible Hulk. No, just Hulk, wasn't it?
Hulk, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So those were the names that Marvel had sold off because of the financial troubles that they were in at the time. Obviously, Sony bought Spider-Man, and that's, like you say, that's kick-started the superhero genre off again, really. I know the X-Men films did rather well. Well, the first and the second one did, and then obviously they've they sort of tailed off, didn't they?
I think what did it with those kind of properties was that, like in the 90s, there was all the animated TV shows, weren't there? I know that's what sold it to me, because there was like X-Men, there was Spiderman, and there was Batman. All those things. Like, all those people that watched them as kids were at the age where they would go and watch them at the cinema. So that's what kind of, I think, made them into blockbusters, personally. I think.
Yeah, because Batman Begins was 2005. So us growing up as kids watching Batman the Animated Series, Spider-Man and X-Men on like Fox Kids and things like that, you get to being a teenager where your parents give you a bit of independence and you can go out to the cinema when you want. Suddenly these cartoons that you've been growing up with as kids are then on the big screen.
They're real.
Yeah. And being done rather well as well. I say the Spider-Man 2 was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely the best one of that trilogy. And it still holds up as probably one of the better superhero films today.
The fight scenes
even now that we're
awesome.
Even now that we are flooded, inundated with superhero films, I think Spider-Man 2 is still probably one of the best.
Just talking about animated bits, I just looked it up. Pokemon, the first movie, was 1998. I remember going to see that, and that was 5 million budget for 172 million box office. I remember watching that film, and I remember being one of the only people in the cinema to laugh when Ash got petrified.
Oh. Mean, Dave.
Wow.
How rude.
Was it me?
Oh, come on, let's face it, Matt. When you're watching the anime, Ash is the one that you least care about.
Yeah. I care more about the Pokemon. Well, I hate Pikachu. Yeah. I genuinely hate Pikachu.
Yeah, but you tend to root for Team Rocket.
Yeah.
For anything. And Brock or Misty or his other companions. Ash isn't really the one that you're rooting
Pikachu
for.
is a disloyal Pokemon. It's the whole way through. Ash never lets him go. He never puts him back in the ball. Yeah, that's because he fights you. Because he's a horrible little creature.
There's the rumor that
he kills him.
There's the theory that Pikachu is like Professor Oak's original Pokemon, and he's obviously like a level 100, and that's why he's just completely disobedient to Ash because he's an inexperienced trainer.
But there's also the bit that on the very first episode, there's the rumor that Pikachu kills Ash, and the whole thing that happens afterwards is Ash is in a coma.
When it electrocutes him, yeah.
Yeah, Ash is in a coma and living out his life thinking what's happening, which is why he's still 10 years old, even though he's been like traveling for like 20 years.
25 years, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what didn't we discuss that when we went down the sort of like the theory and the alternative storylines?
Yeah. This is the same with Homer, isn't it, as well? As that episode of Bart plays the April Fool's prank with him with the beer can, and it blows up and puts him in a coma.
Yeah.
Since then, Homer gets put into more and more ridiculous situations and injured, and it never actually dies. It's because he's never actually come out of that coma.
That's why his kids never age.
Yeah, that's another reason, because obviously that's a fairly early series. That happens, and then obviously he goes and Barty does that. The can blows up. He puts Homer into a coma, and then the running theory is that he's never actually come out, and everything episodes since then is all in Homer's mind, which explains why the kids no one ever ages. The town moves round and has so many different geographical stuff all the time. That's one of the running theories.
Okay.
But anyway, back to Blockbusters. So we've hit the superhero era, let's face it, with Spider-Man coming in and X-Men and whatnot. Batman, The Dark Knight, obviously, 2008. Same year as Iron Man. So.
Also, James Bond was rebooted around this time as well, wasn't it? With Daniel Craig.
Yeah, so Casino Royale comes out 2006. Sort of a soft reboot. Whereas previously they've just changed the actor, and you just think it's the same progression of the same 007. Casino Royale is a soft reboot because he's getting his 00 status.
Yeah.
It's like he's an initiate again.
I don't think Die Another Day helped.
Oh,
Die
God.
Another Day was pretty much a flop, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, and they really went to town on the marketing on that as well, because obviously you had the new Aston Martin Vantage, I think it was coming out around the time. So you can't bring out a new Aston Martin and go, I'm going to put that into a James Bond film, we'll use it for marketing, and then you make it invisible for half of its scenes. It defeats the purpose. And you got some of the ridiculous CGI in that film as well. It's like that scene where he's on the little the bonnet of the and he's doing the whole just gliding thing as the wave comes to get him, and just they'd gone too far. So I think a soft reboot with Casino Royale was needed. And when I first saw that in 2006, Casino Royale, I was a bit unsure, but actually, since rewatching it again, it's actually one of my more favourite Bond films. So I think it's actually really good.
I enjoy that film because a lot of it takes place in like during an actual game of poker, doesn't it? Which is quite interesting and stuff.
It's really
interesting.
It takes
it back to basics, though, doesn't it? As well.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you listen to some of the actors, and they're like, everyone around that table can play poker, apart from Daniel Craig. So they're getting really frustrated that Daniel Craig has to win when they're all professional, they're not professional, but semi-professional poker players, and he's a complete noob at it all. But yeah, I do agree
as well.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Casino Royale it rebooted, and it kind of started that it brought Bond to a fresh audience.
Yeah,
and
it's starting to feel a bit stale, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I've nothing against Pierce Brosnan, but it was starting to feel a bit stale. So they did that soft reboot. They made it a little bit more realistic because they had the nod in Skyfall, obviously jumping a little bit more ahead when they reintroduced Q. And there's that little line, we don't go for exploding pens or anything like that anymore, because they're trying to ground it a little bit more in reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you've seen from Casino Royale onwards, the Bond franchise actually become more successful in terms of being blockbusters. They were always a successful franchise, but up until Skyfall, with the money that made, none of them were ever probably actually considered to be true blockbuster films.
Mm-hmm.
But by doing that soft reboot and grounding it a bit more in reality, it's freshened it up, and it's made people actually think these are stories worth going to watch again.
Yeah, I like that it actually has. It's a contained like story as well. He actually has like an arc as a character as well. Like through all the films, he like develops and grows and as a person.
Yeah, through his 5 films, it's
him
done really well.
More of like a fallible character as well. Like he's not the perfect spy or anything. Like he can get injured. He can get like emotionally compromised and stuff, and he's not like a perfect person.
Well, as Amy says, he's always been a flawed spy anyway, because he's always going around introducing and giving his actual name out. It's the one thing you should always say, Sharon. He can't be that good of a spy because he's always telling people his proper name.
He's also, very out and out. Is that how many people order a vodka martini shaken, not stirred? And like it's complete. I am the center of attention. Look at me. I am amazing, and everyone's like, he's just some bloke. But also at the same point, everyone knows him. Like, James Bond or 007. And like everyone. But he's still a spy, and he's still going out there and causing havoc. And they're all just like, we know he's coming, but we know what to look out for.
He's a sharply dressed man. Normally has like a Rolex or an Omega watch. He likes to drink this particular drink. He's normally got a gorgeous woman on his arm. Just keep an eye out for this. I mean, in reality, he should have probably just caked himself in mud. And
I'd love to see James Bond from Yorkshire.
A Yorkshire Bond. By gum.
Yeah.
James Bond. Off in Goldeneye. What's his name? Sean Bean was from Yorkshire, wasn't he? He was a 006 or something. Goldeneye, was he?
Sheffield, 006. Alec Trevelyan.
Yeah.
But yeah. But no, I enjoyed it as a soft reboot. It did quite well for the franchise. It brought it back from being incredibly stale because, as Dave's mentioned, Die Another Day nearly killed it.
Mm.
In my eyes, it was awful. I didn't even like the song. I thought Madonna was a bad choice for doing the Bond theme.
Yeah. But then I didn't like Skyfall because it sounds like Adele is singing Scaffold. So I always imagine that it's this building falling down and the scaffold will crumble. You're like, what?
I was a bit
Where's
hit
the
and miss with it to begin with. It's grown on me as I've listened to it more and more. I think not so much her herself, but the way that the music is and whatnot is very reminiscent of the older Bond themes.
Yeah.
But Madonna was just terrible. But yeah, anyway, and then obviously we're moving on into now the full-blown Disney blockbuster era, because obviously they've got Marvel from 2008 onwards. They've obviously then gone bought Star Wars as well. So there are a load of blockbusters in this.
Don't forget Dark Knight.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we can't forget Dark Knight.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, 2008, it starts off with Iron Man, but you've also got the Dark Knight on that bit.
One of the best performances of, what's it, the millennium so far, I would say. The 2000s.
The only issues I have are some of the bits you can't understand what they're saying. And like the whole thing with Batman and Bane. Batman and Bane, yeah. Well, Batman and Joker as well, where Batman's interrogating Joker, and always there's all the memes where it's like, I don't know what you're saying. Just tell me what you want. And I'm like, I don't know what you want, Batman.
Yeah, and then it's got worse in Dark Knight Rises with Bane.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises is the entire scene in the sewer that if you put subtitles on, it's just question marks. Like even the subtitles doesn't know what they're saying because it is just Batman, and then Christian Bale going.
It was that thing though, wasn't it? In the first week of Dark Knight Rises being out in the cinema, they had to redistribute film reels with better sound quality for that scene because people just couldn't understand it.
Yeah, because of the water, all the sort of like sewer water was too loud and the speech was too quiet.
I
think
so you first, Matt.
To kill off a lot of these films that are on this list, not kill off, but like get them all into one. Christopher Nolan is pretty much a blockbuster like director now, isn't he? If you think about it, because like he didn't start off like that, but he's kind of slowly progressed into making films that end up being blockbusters.
Yeah, his Dark Knight trilogy has done that massively.
I think Batman Begins was the first like proper Hollywood film that he'd done, really, because like the Prestige and stuff was a little bit more niche still, a little bit. I don't think it was proper like Hollywood, was it? I don't think.
But then you had what? Inception. There was
Interstellar,
the time one.
Tenet. Well, Tenet's not really
Tenet.
a blockbuster. I think that's a little bit too high concept for a blockbuster because people kind of watched it and their ears were bleeding. Like, I don't understand what's going on.
I think his intent would have been for it to have been a blockbuster, though. Then obviously Oppenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Yeah. Then he's got another one next year. He's doing the Odyssey.
So, yeah,
he's definitely become the blockbuster director of the time, hasn't he now?
Yeah, I think he's kind of like, I don't know, the new. I mean, there's not really ever been a British equivalent, has there? Really, I suppose. So there's been like the Spielbergs and stuff, but obviously they're not. I think he's like the first British director that's really been that successful. I think.
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock.
You would argue. You can't really say that his films were blockbusters, but Hitchcock was big.
Yeah, especially success-wise.
Hitchcock defined kind of like an era of the cinema.
Yeah.
Which is sort of, I suppose, what Matt's getting at that Nolan's doing now.
Yeah, I suppose he is, yeah.
But you say that.
He's getting there.
No, no. Obviously,
a lot of his films deal with like similar themes, don't they? You know, like time and.
there's always a twist.
Is there? Is there always a twist?
Some kind of twist to it, isn't there? Something that you're not going to expect.
There's a little bit of a twist, but it's not like M. Night Shyamalan.
It's not.
No, but
It's not this Hitchcockian, is it? Really, it's not like. I think in the quality of films is kind of that kind of standard. I think he will go down as well. He's Sir Christopher Nolan now as well, isn't he? Noticed?
Sir Nolan, yes.
Got his Sir Charles. But yeah, there's so many. I think there's not many of his films that I don't like. To be honest. Not gonna lie.
This is where we're going to look through all the Christopher Nolan films now to see any potential ones that you can think,
I mean, Inception.
Could do with being a bit shorter, some of them.
I love that film, Inception. It's a brilliant film. What do you think of Inception, Dave? As a man of science?
I'm trying to remember which one Inception is.
The Dreams one.
Oh, yeah, the one where you can move through dreams, isn't it? Yeah, I did like that one. I think it was a very well made film. Interstellar I like as well.
Mm-hmm. I know JJ.
He did Dunkirk as well.
Yeah, he did Dunkirk. Yeah,
that's cool. He does get his good actors as well. That sometimes is a good sign of a blockbuster. Draws in a lot of people doing it, big names.
I didn't realise there was 4 years between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Jeez.
Yeah, what? I feel like there was a reason for that. What it was? It wasn't like an actor's strike or anything, was there?
Inception came out in 2010, so obviously he went straight from The Dark Knight to filming Inception.
Okay.
And then Inception, it was 2 years between Inception and The Dark Knight Rises.
Tends to be. I mean, we're looking at it. From The Dark Knight onwards, he tends to have like a 2-year gap now between releases. Probably because obviously he's got to that point where his films are going to be much more grand on scale in terms of the production and things like that. So, whereas beforehand, they were every other.
Doesn't he write and direct them though a lot of the time?
Right, directs and produces, yeah.
So busy guy.
But yeah, certainly most of his films now you expect to be blockbusters. You assume Odyssey when it comes out. I think it's next year. Anticipated to come out.
About that one, because that's like, isn't the Odyssey like a fantasy?
Yeah, next year.
Is it a fantasy? No.
Yeah, it's based on Homer's poem, isn't it?
That's first.
So it's gonna
first out and out fantasy it's ever done, isn't it? Really, I think
based around sort of the Trojan War and things like that.
Yeah, it's more about mythology rather than fantasy.
Yeah. So it's not really ever done anything like that. So I'll be intrigued to see what that's like.
And that's out next year. So you would assume that would be another blockbuster hit for him. Obviously, like you say, it was Barbieheimer because it was going up against Barbie. It was another 2 films, and I don't think Barbie was expected to do what it did. That was very much going to be an underdog film that became a blockbuster.
I don't think Margot Robbie even knew that film was going to do that well. So yeah, crazy.
But that links on to the one that I suggested of Mario. Barbie is phenomenally popular as a toy.
Yeah.
So there's already that backing of when did Barbie come out? 1950s or something like that. The first Barbie doll was made. So you've had 60, 70 years by the time the film comes out where people have been playing with Barbie dolls. And then obviously they did Mario as a follow-up, so like as a similar kind of movie trend, is that they took a successful franchise, character. And a well-known character that has been around for generations and pretty much untouched other than a few odd movies. Like Barbie's obviously had like TV series as well, but they ran with a pretty much unknown before, so they hadn't had the chance for it to fail.
It's a really, really, really bad Super Mario film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that Mario film as well, the new one. It's brilliant.
Mm.
I really enjoy it.
I haven't seen it. It's been one that I've been meaning
Have
to
you
get
not?
around to
Oh,
because
you need to see it.
loads of people have been saying it's actually really good.
I love it. Pure nostalgia.
Jack Black is back, right? You know, with most Jack Black films, it's Jack Black playing Jack Black.
Hmm.
But in Mario, is that you do really appreciate him as Bowser.
Mm.
He played Bowser to a T, and like you watch all the interviews afterwards, and you can see Chris Pratt getting annoyed because everyone's kind of more interested in Bowser than they are about Mario, and Jack Black's stealing the show and all the interviews, and like.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? I do remember that.
Because Jack Black's like everybody's favourite like uncle, isn't he? I love Jack Black. I like how he manages to work a song into like every film that he's in as well. Didn't he do that in like
Yeah.
Minecraft as well? He did that song,
Yeah.
didn't he? That's kind of like
Yeah, he wrote Steve's Lava Chicken.
But yeah, I think over the last few that's like decade or so, I do think nostalgia has played a big part in blockbusters. To be fair.
Mm. But also, like, because obviously we've got our list of the Avengers, and it's the story that's told. Because obviously we start off in Iron Man sets the franchise, and it built up on that, and all of the Phase One Marvel saga leading up to Endgame is that they built upon the story and they gave that kind of like you got attached to the characters. So that's why each film seems to become more and more successful because you wanted to see how the character's arc ended. And yeah, some characters you don't always, some people don't enjoy Black Panther and some people don't enjoy Captain Marvel and etc. But you still wanted to see how their story played out.
Yeah.
And then at the end of Phase One, obviously there's not been, well, Doctor Strange was semi decent, I think, from rating wise, box office takings, but nothing has come close to Endgame in Phase Two because they've kind of some of the characters are still around, so they've still got their original arc from season one. So you don't really care for them as much, and then the new characters they've just kind of shoehorned in and gone, look, it's this character. You know that they're related to this person. You're like, they've not had their own origin build up.
I think one of the things that has affected the Marvel films since Endgame and them becoming more flops, blockbuster flops since Endgame, is because this obviously it's coincided with Disney Plus, and they've just oversaturated it even more now because you've got the TV series as well as the films. I know before Disney Plus and whatnot, you'd probably get 2 or 3 Marvel films a year, but they'd be spaced out through the year, so you'd still have a little bit of time and gap and to digest and everything. Whereas now, it's just here's another thing, here's another thing, here's another thing. And Mark had said it on one of our previous videos. It feels like now because you've got the TV shows that are then leading into films and this and that, you're having to just do too much homework.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's led to the fatigue that's affected Marvel's dominance in the box office. I know they still make the money, but they're not as good, are they, anymore?
Yeah. It's the same as Star Wars, though, isn't it?
Mm.
It is realistically after Rogue One, you had Ahsoka and The Mandalorian, and then you had like the sequels. Everything is just continual, bam, 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 knocking out more and more stuff to the point where it's like, like you say, it's oversaturated, so you've lost interest in it all.
And that's probably why things like Barbie and Oppenheimer did actually quite well, because they would have been going up against probably some Marvel films around that time in 2023. But people have almost had enough of them.
I do think the newer phases have had issues that they couldn't control, though. Like COVID and the whole Jonathan Majors thing and actor strikes and lots of things that got in the way of plans that they might have had. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like pivot like unexpectedly, and that just kind of messed loads of things up.
That will have had an effect, but I still think they've oversaturated the market just a bit too much.
Mm.
And that's why they're not having as much of a dominance anymore. We'll see. It could be different. Obviously, we've got 2 more Avengers films coming up in the next couple of years. They might bring it back.
I do think once they get to the X-Men, they'll start to right the ship a bit, though, I think. Because you can't really go wrong, because how many blooming X-Men storylines is there? You know what I mean? They could just completely dismiss the rest of the characters and just do X-Men for the next 20 years. Without...
They could do.
But we don't talk about Rage Men Wrong Class, because that film is just horrendous.
I think he's going to have to... I think he's on about X-Men First Class.
Yeah, X-Men First Class. It's horrendous.
Do you not like McAvoy and Fassbender, no?
It is horrendous.
Oh, I like them as those characters, though, to be fair.
But the whole plot of it just like, we're going to shoehorn in a plot that makes no sense.
It was supposed to be a Magneto film, that's why. And then they pivoted to making it an X-Men film.
Yeah.
Just added in the Magneto scenes.
Yeah.
I would have much preferred a Magneto film.
It'd have been better to do it as an origin story. It'd been better to do X-Men Origins and have done the Magneto movie, the Xavier movie, and then sort of like Beast, Mystique, build them all into it, rather than just going, here's the X-Men with Magneto. Right.
So, yeah, so we've sort of touched on the Marvel dominance of the box office and it's slowed it.
They have kicked out some good blockbusters, though, in the last few years. You know, like Civil War, the first Avengers, Endgame.
You're looking at the towards the start, though. That's 10 years ago since Civil War now, nearly.
Well, it is, yeah, 2016. Yeah.
I mean, Endgame was, what, just before COVID? 2019? 6 years on from that, nearly. So their dominance lasted 12 years, nearly.
Mm.
And then since then, it's slowly...
This is what we've kind of said previously, is the difference between Marvel and DC. DC didn't have the build-up when they rebooted. They just went straight into Batman vs Superman sort of thing. And you didn't get that slow burn. The Iron Man, because Iron Man 1, 2 were first, weren't they? And then I think it was Captain America.
Yeah, the Incredible Hulk as well.
Yeah, and Hulk was building in. It was that slow burn up to it. So the fuse was lit and they'll get in the interest. And that, I think, like we said previously, is Marvel dominated because they had that, whereas DC jumped straight into it and went, here's a new Batman movie. Everyone knows Batman. I'm like, we do, but you need to explain why this Batman is not the same as previous Batman. Yeah. Which I think the latest Batman movie did really well at.
The Batman with...
not Hayden Christensen. Rob Pattinson.
Rob Pattinson. I actually enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. Bit long. Very long, but...
I like long.
No, there's long films, man. There's too long.
Mm.
You could have easily made the Batman half hour shorter by just cutting out a lot of the scenes of him just slowly walking to the camera.
I like slow walking Batman. He must only walk slowly.
Matt's got the 10-hour version of him just walking slowly towards the camera. Never actually makes it to the camera, just slowly walks.
I think what Dave's sort of getting at in terms of the DC side of things, we might actually might see it flip now as James Gunn's taking over. And you've got his new Superman film coming out this year. Maybe they'll start to get more blockbusters now than what Marvel have got.
But the weird thing is, like,
if he does it right,
he's kind of done like the BVS thing. He's like chucked loads of people at you at once. So he's like started with like a heavily populated universe. So like, I don't know if that's going to work or not work, or
it depends on the storyline they go down.
Because obviously that's cool.
Because everybody kind of speculates that it's going to be like, oh yeah, like there's lots of superheroes and they all kind of operate differently, and then Superman comes in and is like this kind of super positive kind of guy that just wants to do the right thing, and that's kind of like the plot. But I don't know. And he kind of like steers them in the right direction. But
we'll see, because it's out this month. We've three blockbuster films coming out in the next space of a month, haven't we? In Superman.
Let's get booking my tickets.
Fantastic Four, Jurassic World Rebirth. 28 years later is coming out as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm that bothered about that though. I don't really remember much about the 28 days later, to be honest. About you guys, are you interested in that, or?
I think I've seen 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and like they're okay. I didn't dislike them, but I didn't really kind of like rave about them.
Mm. What do you think's going to win out the summer, blockbuster wise?
The big three: Fantastic Four, Jurassic World, or Superman.
Yeah, but which one? Yeah.
For me, I think Fantastic Four is going to have a lot of shackles of the previous Fantastic Four franchise to shake off. Because majority, like a lot of people, kind of like our age that would be interested in it, will still remember what happened in the original Fantastic Four. We're like,
But do you think
really?
you're going to draw in a lot of younger crowd though? Because you think of the casting, you've got like Pedro Pascal, who is like everybody's dad. You've got what's his name? Who plays the Human Torch from Stranger Things, aren't you? He's in it. And you've got what's his name? Who plays the Thing? He's from like The Bear and stuff. So it's all like newer things that have come out recently.
Yeah.
That might draw.
Yeah, there'll definitely be a new crowd about it. I mean, Jurassic World, as we've discussed previously tonight, is the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Even though the last few haven't been great, it still draws in big crowds because it's dinosaurs.
I think of the three, Jurassic World will probably be the weakest.
Do you think? I don't know if that.
I think for me, Superman would probably do it, because if it is Superman's always been DC's kind of like most successful, other than Batman franchise. Like Henry Cavill as Superman brought a new era of Superman in, but then again at the same time, it has only been, how long has it been since Henry Cavill was Superman?
What was his last proper appearance? I know he had that little cameo in
Justice League.
Yeah.
It was in the Flash, wasn't he?
Something, but
no, it was Shazam.
Yeah. I think of the three, I probably would agree. I think Superman might be the one that probably wins the summer blockbuster title, because Fantastic Four's coming out and they're hoping it's going to reinvigorate the Marvel franchise, which is obviously on a downturn at the moment.
I mean, they're all of them are based on already existing IP, and they're all trying to basically reinvigorate a franchise, aren't they? So
there's nothing. Yeah, what would be massively different on all of them compared to what we've already seen?
Yeah,
not much.
Yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth is always going to be another dinosaur. I'm like, what? Stop bringing out all these stupid dinosaurs. Just go back to, if you actually read the book of Jurassic Park, John Hammond is not a nice guy. But the problem is that Richard Attenborough is such a lovely person. Is that the movie the movie made him really nice and really great. So that would be an interesting side if they actually went down the whole thing of, no, Hammond's a real horrible individual. Fantastic Four, as I said, still got the shackles of the previous saga, and Superman wasn't that long ago. No. So they've all got negatives against them. They've all got positives against them. They're trying to rebrand and redo the franchise to inject some fresh energy into it.
I think the next one that I'm looking forward to, that would be, you'd say is going to be the big blockbuster. We touched upon it briefly earlier, and it's not even going to be out until next year. It's probably going to be Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the one I'm looking forward to, because, like you say, the three that we've got coming out this summer are all just trying to breathe fresh life into already existing franchises, whereas this is going to be a proper sort of, like, say, epic into looking into the sort of the mythical side of ancient Greece and things like that. It's not something that we've actually seen in the big screen for a long time.
But yeah, you go back to Troy, aren't you?
So that's probably the one I'm looking forward to. I know we're looking at this summer, but that's going forward. That's probably the one. And then that in itself, there's already talk about the Odyssey being the next Barbieheimer thing, because obviously the cast that he's got in that, Tom Holland's in that, and it's going to be going up against the Spider-Man film that comes out around the same time. I wonder what the name's going to be for that.
Summer of Tom Holland, isn't it?
You had obviously Barbieheimer. What are you going to call Odyssey or Spider-Man? What's the combined name going to be for that? Let's see if we can get Spider-See. Let's see if we can get that going now and get some claims for that already.
Odyssey Man.
Odyssey Man.
No. Spider-See.
But yeah, apparently they both want to retire when they have kids, apparently. I don't think that's going to happen, though.
They can afford to retire.
Yeah, but I don't think they will. I think they both like being famous too much.
What do you think will do best out of those three, by the way, Matt? We never got your take.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. 'Cause I don't know if people are a bit bored of Marvel, so potentially Fantastic Four might not do as well.
Are people bored of superhero in general? Is that going to affect Superman?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it so different that people might give it a chance? I don't know. Because it does seem very different to the last Superman. So, but I know you guys are not overly excited about some of them movie-wise, but I am quite looking forward to all these films.
I'd still go and watch them. It's just the fact that it's not on my calendar the day that it comes out. I must go to the cinema to watch this.
Oh, I've got a Midland Earth calendar, so it is technically on my calendar. It's just for work. Just for work. But I'm guessing me and JJ will be in the cinema for Jurassic World, so I know he wants to go see that.
I want to see that, so I'll try and get along for that one.
Do you? Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's dinosaurs, of course I do.
Can't think what day it comes out, but we'll have a look and try and synchronise our calendars so we can go to it. Apparently it is more. I read a review earlier that it is more like akin to like the original, so hopefully, and it's kind of very Spielbergy and stuff. So I'm hoping they've gone down the.
Gareth Edwards is directing it as well.
Yeah, more like scary route than actiony, hopefully. But I did like that. About the original.
2nd of July it's out.
Oh, that's not long. What? Less than 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
Mm.
Hopefully I'll be off.
Yeah, Wednesday, 2 weeks' time.
It's weird.
Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird day, isn't it?
Oh, I can't do a Wednesday.
Oh, no.
I could do the 4th. I'm off that Friday. You're going to edit all this bit out, right?
No.
Okay. I'm off the 4th. I can do the 4th.
How we plan these things.
Right.
Yeah, I'm basically going to get tickets for all them, to be honest.
Okay.
And because then we can do out of the theatre reactions and reviews and spoiler reviews. Content. There we go. Busy month in July. Let's get to grips with that editing software, Lewis.
Should we look at wrapping things up?
Maybe.
Do you want to do the outro?
Yeah, I can do that.
Well, no.
Right. If you have enjoyed seeing us chat about Blockbusters and what we've liked over the years since their inception, then please like and subscribe and let us know what you liked from the start of Blockbusters to the end and what you are looking forward to coming up this year or next year. Like Lewis is looking forward to the Odyssey. Are you looking forward to the Odyssey? Are you looking forward to the summer of Tom Holland? Let us know. If you'd like to leave some of your favourites down in the comments, that'd be great. We can have a bit of a conversation down there. If you've enjoyed what you've watched, maybe check out some of our other videos and some of our other fellowships, because we really enjoy doing these and we want to keep doing more. So if you'd like us to do that, then maybe put some suggestions of what kind of fellowships you would like to see, and we can make them happen and get them shot and filmed and uploaded for you. Right, it's nice to see you guys, and it's been fun. Catch you later, Dave.
Yeah, thank you for this evening, guys.
We got there in the end, didn't we? After many hours and internet fun and losing the JJ.
Oh.
Right. Catch you on the other side, guys. It's been fun.
Adieu.
Good night.
Bye.